The obsidian towers of the council's citadel rose like jagged teeth against the void, black as the space between stars. From the highest spire, the prophet gazed through quantum lenses that pierced light years, straining to see what his peers refused to acknowledge. Across the dark expanse, faint flickers pulsed. Transmissions. Signals from a species the council had long dismissed. Humans. Small, fragile, unarmored. A nuisance at most. And yet, something in their rhythm, in the pattern of their movements, pricked at his awareness. A silent alarm that set every synapse in his being on edge. Decades ago, he had warned them. He had spoken in tones both trembling and firm. If this species awakens fully, they will bend galaxies to their will, not by power, but by the very essence of who they are. The council had scoffed. Advisors waved their claws dismissively. Generals cited centuries of dominance, and scholars buried the warnings in dusty archives. And now, as the humans crossed the outermost borders of the observation grid, the prophet's eyes widened, not with joy, not with hope, but with a fear that churned through every chamber of his chest. The alien fleets, aligned with cold precision, glimmered in the darkness. Thousands of vessels, each calculated to execute flawless maneuvers, bristled with weapons that could rend worlds. And yet, as the humans approached, the fleets faltered. Not from attack, but from observation. The stars themselves seemed to hesitate, the vacuum stretching unnaturally, as if reality sensed an anomaly too great to quantify. Every course correction, every evasive maneuver the humans executed violated every known law of strategy. Their ships wove through asteroid fields without collision, emerged from gravitic storms unscathed, and aligned with alien formations in patterns no algorithm could predict. The prophet felt a surge of vertigo, the sensation of standing at the edge of a chasm that did not exist in any map. His instruments, designed to measure strength, speed, and firepower, failed to capture what truly mattered, the unyielding spirit radiating from these beings. It was not aggression. It was not cunning. It was inevitability. Each human vessel carried a certainty, a quiet refusal to be destroyed that resonated across light years, reaching even the farthest observation posts. In the council chambers, debate roared like a supernova, but it was empty noise. High advisors barked about protocol, about preemptive strikes and containment strategies, yet none could see what the prophet saw. The humans moved as if the rules of conflict were suggestions, their motions precise but inexplicable. The prophet tried to make them see. He gestured at the holoscreens, pointed at the trajectories of the approaching fleet, and shouted the warning he had repeated for decades. If you do not prepare for what comes, you will not merely lose battles, you will lose the galaxy. Some whispered among themselves, calling him paranoid. Others chuckled, dismissing him as a relic, a seer clinging to ancient fears. But all felt a tremor in their psyche, a subtle unease that slithered through their neural links. Something in the fabric of existence had shifted. Then the humans crossed the threshold. From the prophet's vantage, it was a movement that should have seemed trivial, almost laughable. The first human scouts skimming past the outer sensor arrays, unshielded, unarmed by alien standards. Yet the effect was immediate. Communications scrambled. Energy grids stuttered. The fleet's automated defense sequences triggered and failed in impossible ways. It was as though the very laws of physics themselves hesitated, unsure how to respond. The prophet staggered backward from the observation deck, his claws pressing against the black stone of the spire. He realized with a sudden, sickening clarity that he had never truly grasped the scale of what was coming. The humans were not merely approaching. They were arriving unchallenged by expectation, and they carried with them a force that no weapon, no fleet, no council could anticipate. As the first human vessel slipped beyond the perimeter of the observation grid, the prophet's voice trembled across the comlinks to the council. I warned you. I told you what they are. And now the signal cut out. Static filled the chambers. The council fell silent. The prophet stared at the void, every sensor, every metric, every calculation rendered meaningless. Something primal, inexorable, surged across the stars. Humanity had begun, and the galaxy, for the first time in millennia, shivered in recognition. The outermost lights of the human fleet blinked once, twice, and then advanced with deliberate certainty toward the heart of alien dominion, carrying a force none had prepared to confront. And somewhere deep in the prophet's mind, a single word echoed unstoppable. The fleet waited. Vast and immaculate, a lattice of deadly precision stretching across the void. Thousands of alien vessels gleamed under the cold light of distant stars, shields humming with barely contained energy, weapons charged, ready to incinerate any intruder. Every captain knew their role. Every admiral had rehearsed countless scenarios. Victory was assumed, preordained. And yet the void remained silent. Then the humans arrived, not with fanfare, not with the predictable brashness of lesser species, not with the ritualized strikes that alien strategy relied upon. Only silence and the faintest shimmer of approaching vessels moving with an unhurried grace that defied calculation. Sensors twitched, gravitic fields warped slightly under their passage, and the alien crews froze in disbelief. The humans did not signal. They did not hail. They did not obey the expected scripts. They simply were. One officer, a veteran of 3 interstellar campaigns, whispered into the comm, "They are docking." The word hung in the chamber like a forbidden invocation. Docking, against protocol, against expectation, without ceremony. Humans moved into position with an elegance that mocked the rigid formations of alien strategy, bypassing barriers, avoiding defensive arrays, and aligning themselves with uncanny precision. Systems sputtered. Shields shimmered, then flickered, then stabilized, uncertain how to respond to these anomalies. Even the most advanced sensors could not interpret the humans' movements. They adapted, anticipated, improvised in ways that no alien calculus could predict. Reports poured in simultaneously from all sectors. A patrol drone disabled, its engines frozen mid-space. A forward observation station paralyzed, unable to broadcast its warning. A squadron trapped in an ambush only to escape without damage. The officers murmured in astonishment. One muttered to his colleague, voice trembling, "They perceive reality differently. They bend outcomes without bending themselves." Fear settled like a shadow over the command bridge. Where once there had been confidence, there was now tension, taut and electric. Each new report seemed to contradict prior assumptions. They were not merely clever, they were impossible. Every defensive matrix the aliens deployed, every automated countermeasure, failed in ways that suggested intentional subversion, not error. And yet there was no overt aggression, no direct challenge. Humans did not attack the way other species did. They exploited the cracks in alien design, seizing every flaw as if it were a gift from the cosmos itself. The prophet, observing from orbit, allowed himself a slow, deliberate shiver. He had warned them. All the calculations, all the proud strategy of the council meant nothing here. The humans moved like a force of nature, indifferent to expectation, each maneuver executed with calm certainty. "They do not fight," he murmured into the silent expanse. "They exist, and in existing they conquer." In the alien command chambers, panic simmered beneath the surface of disciplined facades. Generals barked orders to fleets that would not respond as intended. Automated defense grids triggered redundantly, firing into empty corridors of space, wasting energy. Officers argued over the meaning of each anomaly, yet every hypothesis fell short. Humanity's actions were neither chaotic nor predictable. They were beyond understanding. A lieutenant, young and untested, leaned toward his mentor and whispered, voice barely audible, "They are rewriting the rules." The prophet's gaze followed a single human vessel as it slipped past a fortified perimeter, gliding through gaps that should have been impassable. Its hull reflected distant starlight, yet it carried no conventional weaponry, no shielding worthy of notice. And yet the vessel's mere presence destabilized alien calculations. Another drone patrol vanished without trace, leaving only ghostly sensor echoes. The prophet's ancient voice resonated in his own mind. "If you strike first, they will never stop." "And we have done nothing!" Alien dread deepened. Officers debated counterattacks, yet hesitation gnawed at every mind. The humans did not behave like prey. They were hunters of a kind the galaxy had never known. One report described a squadron caught in a planned trap. The ambushers emerged in perfect formation, ready to obliterate, only to find themselves outmaneuvered by subtle, almost imperceptible shifts. Not a shot had been fired, and yet the result was annihilation of strategy, defeat without confrontation. Fear began to mutate into legend. Each officer, each general, sensed that what they faced was no longer a threat in the usual sense. It was inevitability made flesh. The humans continued their silent advance, docking with alien stations as if ownership were a natural right, establishing positions that confounded every defense protocol. Alien sensors attempted to track, analyze, and predict, but all measurements failed. Some vessels seemed to appear where none had been, others vanished from sight in moments too brief to capture. The officers realized with growing horror that they were observing not a war, but a display of control beyond their comprehension. And then, the humans made their first communication. Silent, simple, human. A single data packet sent to every bridge, every command post, across every fleet. No demands, no threats. Only coordinates and instructions, clear and precise, that compelled compliance. The alien commanders stared at their consoles, unable to interpret the meaning, yet compelled by an instinct older than their own calculations. The Prophet exhaled, claws gripping the observation deck. "This is not battle. This is revelation," he murmured. His eyes swept the void, following the ripple of the human fleet as it expanded, moving through systems unchallenged. Everywhere it went, the predictable order of the galaxy trembled. Fear had taken root. Awe had begun to bloom. And in the back of every alien mind, a single unspoken thought crystallized. Humanity was not just dangerous. They were unstoppable. The fleet, vast and meticulously arrayed, faced the humans directly. And in that moment, silence stretched, taut as the strings of the universe itself. The first true confrontation, the first test of alien power against this impossible species, was about to begin. But what the aliens did not yet see, could not yet see, was the manner in which humans defined victory, not through destruction, but through impossibility made manifest. And as the first human vessel aligned with the command nexus, the void seemed to hold its breath. The galaxy burned with a rhythm no one had predicted. The humans moved like a storm given form, relentless, precise, and terrifyingly calm. Entire star systems, fortified for centuries, fell within hours instead of decades. Alien generals, who had long measured war in cycles of centuries, were left staring at holoscreens in disbelief. Their calculations, their strategies, their centuries of tactical doctrine, they were obsolete. Every prediction failed, every assumption shattered, every command rendered meaningless. The Prophet observed from orbit, claws pressed against the railing of the observation spire, his ancient sensors straining to record what his mind struggled to comprehend. The humans were not merely advancing, they were orchestrating reality. Starships vanished only to reappear behind enemy lines. Ambushes set for them were rendered irrelevant before the first shot could be fired. Wounded human vessels rallied mid-battle, engines flaring despite critical damage. Crews coordinating with a precision that seemed to bend time itself. From the alien perspective, the battlefield had become theater. Every engagement unfolded as a spectacle of chaos and brilliance, as if the laws of physics themselves deferred to human will. One squadron of alien destroyers found their attack vectors neutralized, then reversed, their own formations torn apart by maneuvers that no simulation could predict. Reports flooded command channels, drones disabled mid-flight, capital ships disarmed without warning, entire fleets rerouted by a few agile human frigates. Every moment of contact revealed a new anomaly, a new impossibility. Analysts in every alien command hub watched with trembling sensors, desperately attempting to log, to understand, to replicate, but they were hopelessly behind. The humans did not act like any known species. They did not fight with predictable aggression. They fought with intent, with creativity, with a drive so uncompromising that every encounter left awe and fear entwined in equal measure. The Prophet whispered across comms to his counterparts, "Strike first, or you perish." But the warning now felt hollow. The humans had already transcended the point at which warnings mattered. Alien commanders murmured among themselves, attempting to maintain composure. "They are unstoppable," one officer admitted quietly, gaze fixed on a tactical map showing collapsing fleets. "They do not fear death. They do not yield, and yet they do not lose themselves in rage. They do not falter." The words felt like a confession, the beginning of legend forming in the minds of those who survived to witness it. In the core systems of the outer spiral, humans executed maneuvers that defied all logic. A transport fleet under heavy fire navigated through a field of gravitic turbulence, using its own damaged engines to create an escape corridor no alien could predict. Supply convoys rerouted themselves in mid-combat, leaving enemy forces stranded and bewildered. Even when severely outnumbered, human ships pressed forward, their crews improvising solutions to challenges that would have annihilated any other species. The aliens began to whisper names in dread and admiration, cataloging humans not as adversaries but as natural phenomena, unyielding, inevitable, impossible to stop. Every battlefield became a classroom in fear and wonder. Observers noted the humans' uncanny ability to anticipate consequences, to exploit minor flaws with devastating effect. A single frigate, heavily damaged, would reroute energy to reinforce a crippled wing, turn the tide of a localized skirmish, and vanish before reinforcements arrived. Fleet after fleet, system after system fell, leaving behind only remnants of alien forces, scattered and disoriented. The prophet's eyes burned as he scanned the holoscreens. Every action, every motion, spoke of a species unconstrained by conventional logic, guided instead by something deeper: intuition, determination, unrelenting purpose. He had warned the Council decades ago that humans were different. Now, observing them in action, he understood the full measure of that difference. These beings did not merely survive, they dominated, not through superior firepower, but through sheer force of will, intellect, and relentless adaptability. Alien analysts attempted to chart the humans' methods, but even their most sophisticated simulations could not replicate the results. Each human fleet was a living equation, variable beyond measure, unpredictable yet precise. Attempts to trap them, to predict their moves, to corner them, failed spectacularly. Every battle became a testament to human ingenuity, injured ships repaired in real time, exhausted crews coordinating with seamless efficiency, and entire fleets moving with the cohesion of a single organism. The prophet's voice reverberated through command comms. "They are the storm. Strike first, or you perish. And we have waited too long." Even as he spoke, human vessels carved paths of destruction through fortified sectors. Alien admirals realized with dawning horror that these humans were not opponents. They were forces of nature. They reshaped the battlefield as easily as one reshapes a map, bending probability, defying expectation, and leaving devastation behind. One observer, a junior officer, dared to whisper across the tactical bridge, "They inspire." Even their allies move faster, fight harder, simply by their presence. Across every alien fleet, morale fluctuated wildly. Some units collapsed under fear, others rallied in awe. Yet all were scrambling to adapt to a foe beyond comprehension. And still, the humans moved forward unhurried, unafraid, leaving entire fleets immobilized and entire worlds questioning the very meaning of defense. The prophet knew in that quiet, terrible moment that this was not merely a victory march. It was the unmaking of every expectation the galaxy had ever held about war, strategy, and survival. As the humans approached the core of alien space, the void seemed to bend around them. Star systems fell like dominoes. Fleets disintegrated before decisive engagement could occur. Entire sectors were lost without conventional battle. Fear mingled with admiration among the aliens. A new reverence forming for beings who could bend reality not with brute force, but with relentless will and unimaginable creativity. The prophet's eyes glowed with unsteady light as he whispered, almost to himself, "It is already too late. They cannot be stopped. We are witnessing a force of nature made flesh, and it leaves only awe in its wake." And in the dark expanse, as human vessels surged toward the inner spiral, alien fleets braced for the impossible, knowing At last, that the humans had not merely arrived, they had unleashed themselves. The galactic nexus sprawled before them, a lattice of stars and fortified worlds that had stood for millennia, untouched, unchallenged. Alien civilizations had poured every resource, every technological marvel, every ounce of strategy into the core, convinced that here, at the heart of their dominion, they were untouchable. And yet through the void, the humans arrived. Their ships were battered, scarred from battles that had spanned star systems, yet they moved as a singular organism, coordinated in ways alien minds could scarcely interpret. The battered hulls shimmered faintly against distant starlight, engines glowing with controlled fury. Fleet formations shifted not according to protocol but according to instinct, each vessel responding to the other as if guided by a single consciousness. Alien admirals could only gape at the screens, their pre-programmed tactics rendered meaningless by precision and intuition they could not calculate. Within the High Council chambers, panic erupted. Ancient holographic displays flickered under the weight of overwhelming reports. Calculations ran endlessly, projecting probable outcomes that never materialized. Every algorithm failed. Every simulation collapsed. The humans were not merely attacking fleets, they were dismantling entire strategies, fracturing alliances, turning centuries of hierarchical control into chaos within hours. Counselors screamed over comlinks, desperate for order, desperate for solutions. Yet the humans moved with deliberate calm, leaving nothing but disruption in their wake. Observers across the Nexus recorded a spectacle no one had expected. Planets long considered impregnable fell in silence. Orbital defenses neutralized without warning. Civilians were evacuated systematically, their lives spared even as enemy strongholds crumbled around them. The humans fought with a discipline and honor that contrasted their ruthlessness, a paradox that alien observers could not reconcile. Every move seemed both precise and inevitable, calculated yet instinctive, as if the very universe conspired to aid their advance. Time itself seemed to fracture. One could almost feel reality bending under their presence. Gravitational waves shimmered unnaturally around the moving fleets. Quantum sensors detected fluctuations that could not be explained. Space, once predictable, now responded to the humans' will. Veteran admirals and junior officers alike felt a shiver pass through their consciousness, a mixture of awe, fear, and disbelief. Every recorded engagement, every collapsed fleet, every lost world contributed to a growing realization. Humanity was no longer merely a contender. They were the defining force of the galaxy. In one system, a garrison that had survived countless sieges watched as a single human frigate bypassed all defense layers, its shields glowing faintly, engines pulsating rhythmically. Within minutes, the system's command hub fell silent. The humans did not bombard indiscriminately. They struck at critical nodes, at command centers, at supply grids, disabling without destruction, eliminating without cruelty. Their efficiency was terrifying. And yet they evacuated civilians, leaving the inhabitants alive but the military infrastructure neutralized. Reports from across the Nexus began to describe similar patterns, a methodology that suggested intelligence beyond any alien standard. The Prophet observed from orbit, his claws pressed against the cold railing of the observation spire. His sensors could barely keep pace with the unfolding events. Every movement, every engagement reinforced the warnings he had given decades ago. "If you strike first, they'll never stop," he murmured, repeating the phrase that now felt like prophecy. He watched as entire fleets attempted to trap the humans, only to be outmaneuvered before they even knew the trap existed. Alien fleets collided, miscommunicated, and crumbled under tactics that no prior intelligence had predicted. From the observation decks of multiple worlds, officers whispered in terror. One admiral, trembling, recorded in his log, "We are witnessing a species that can bend probability, that fights not with brute force alone but with foresight, adaptation, and willpower beyond our comprehension. They do not merely engage, they redefine engagement itself." Analysts attempted to track the humans' actions in real time, but their tools, calibrated over centuries for every conceivable species, could not process the fluid, unpredictable strategies being executed. In the galactic core, the humans' advance was relentless. Fleets that had been considered the backbone of interstellar defense disintegrated not through sheer firepower, but through methodical dismantling, precision strikes, and the subtle genius of coordination. Entire starports fell without a shot fired, supply chains collapsed, and alliances shattered under the weight of human ingenuity. Alien eyes recorded the devastation in disbelief, unable to interpret the scale or purpose of the assault. Everywhere the humans went, the boundaries of expectation were pushed. One admiral watched a damaged human vessel execute impossible maneuvers, evade fire from multiple directions, and return to combat as though unharmed. Another observed a single human command ship rally a scattered fleet, coordinating counterattacks that saved a sector from annihilation. Reports compounded, each one more incomprehensible than the last. The humans did not merely win, they rewrote the rules of engagement in real time. And yet, there was no cruelty beyond necessity. Alien civilians were spared when they could have been obliterated. The humans fought with a balance of efficiency and honor that confounded even the most jaded observers. Fear and awe intertwined, spreading like wildfire through every surviving fleet. Where alien commanders once measured power by firepower, they now measured it by resilience, adaptability, and the indomitable will that humans displayed. The prophet's eyes glowed as he realized the truth. This was not conquest, as the galaxy had known it. It was transformation. The humans were not merely defeating enemies, they were restructuring reality itself, demonstrating that courage, intelligence, and persistence could bend the galaxy to a species' will. As the humans approached the central hub, the void seemed to hold its breath. Alien fleets braced, planets fortified, and councils panicked, yet nothing mattered. Humanity's advance was unstoppable, inevitable, undeniable. The galaxy would never be the same. And in the heart of the Nexus, where civilizations had thought themselves untouchable, the humans arrived, battered, brilliant, and unbroken. The final confrontation had begun. The stars themselves seemed to shimmer with anticipation. The galaxy was silent, not the silence of peace, but the weighty stillness that follows a storm too immense to comprehend. Alien civilizations, once vibrant, proud, and self-assured, floated amid the aftermath of an upheaval they had never anticipated. Worlds lay scarred, fleets scattered, alliances broken, and yet the humans had moved through it all with a precision, efficiency, and honor that defied understanding. The survivors whispered in hushed tones of the invaders' feats. How humans had endured what should have been fatal. How they had annihilated threats with surgical efficiency while sparing innocents. And how their presence inspired awe even among those who had once considered themselves masters of the cosmos. From the high spires of the citadels to the deep observation posts on barren moons, the prophet's words echoed with a resonance that had long been ignored, but now rang with undeniable truth. If you strike first, they'll never stop. The galaxy, once indifferent to his warnings, now listened, studied, and feared, not merely for survival, but for understanding. Alien scholars dissected every recorded engagement, not just to glean tactical advantage, but to probe the essence of what had made humanity extraordinary. Their sensors could quantify speed, firepower, and coordination, but the humans' defining qualities remained elusive: resilience that bent probability, courage that defied fear, creativity that rewrote strategy in real time, and an unrelenting drive that no catastrophe could diminish. On planets that had endured centuries of war, silence reigned. Cities once bombarded by endless conflict stood empty, yet intact. Orbital defenses had been neutralized, yet civilians remained unharmed. Across the void, fleets that had prepared to retaliate now hesitated. Even in defeat, the aliens sensed a lesson beyond mere tactics. The humans had introduced a paradigm shift. The rules of engagement, the hierarchy of fear and power, the very expectations of the galaxy had been rewritten by their presence. Observers in every system recorded, cataloged, and transmitted reports, yet no simulation could capture the full scope of what had occurred. The humans were not just survivors. They were architects of a new reality. The prophet, watching from his observation spire, could barely contain the tremor of awe in his voice. Claws gripping the cold obsidian railing, he whispered to no one in particular. They are not merely a species. They are a force, a standard by which all others will now be measured. Across the galaxy, the ripple of his words spread through military academies, council chambers, and private comms. Where once he had been dismissed as paranoid, he was now revered as visionary. Generations of alien commanders would teach his words as gospel. Cautionary yet inspiring, never underestimate the humans, and never presume the galaxy is safe. In isolated sectors, fleets once scattered rebuilt in quiet contemplation, recording tactical insights from engagements that had left them shattered. They marveled at the human ability to coordinate across vast distances, to improvise under pressure, to turn every disadvantage into an opportunity. One young officer, recording her log for archival purposes, whispered, "They fought as if reality itself bent to their will." And perhaps it did. Across thousands of systems, similar sentiments emerged. Alien civilizations began to speak not only of fear, but of reverence, a combination that had never before existed in such purity. The humans themselves, true to form, did not linger. Their fleets did not parade through conquered systems in triumph. They departed with measured grace, leaving the galaxy altered but intact. Habitats were restored, refugees escorted, and infrastructure salvaged. The aliens could not fathom such restraint. Their calculations predicted pillage, exploitation, and subjugation. And yet, where humans passed, hope lingered. Survivors looked upon the ruins and felt an unfamiliar sense of possibility, a quiet admiration for beings who could wield power with discretion and honor. Legends began to form almost immediately. Across the void, tales spread of humans who could survive impossible odds, rally others through presence alone, and execute maneuvers that defied expectation. In council chambers, scholars debated whether these were strategy or instinct, whether the human's genius was learned or innate. But everywhere the conclusion was unanimous. Humanity was exceptional. Their influence was already reshaping interstellar politics, alliances, and warfare doctrine. Every civilization that had observed them realized a new truth. The galaxy had changed irreversibly. On one desolate observation post, the prophet's eyes traced the fading shimmer of human vessels disappearing into the void. He allowed himself a rare smile, tinged with awe and humility. "They have arrived," he said softly, "and the universe will never be the same." Across the cosmos, the record of their deeds would become legend, myth, and law, a species that embodied the pinnacle of resilience, courage, creativity, and determination, reminding every observer that even in the vast darkness of space, the smallest spark could ignite a galaxy. As alien fleets and civilizations began the slow, meticulous process of rebuilding, every commander, scholar, and citizen carried a new understanding. They had witnessed something singular, a force of nature cloaked in human form, a paradigm shift that challenged the very concept of possibility. Respect mingled with fear. All coexisted with despair. The humans had arrived not to rule, but to demonstrate that existence could be defined not merely by survival, but by willpower, ingenuity, and honor. And in every whisper across the stars, every log entry, every transmission, the message was clear. Humanity was not merely a species. Humanity was the standard. The galaxy, silent and reverent, exhaled, finally comprehending the magnitude of what had occurred. The humans were gone from immediate view, yet their presence remained, etched into every thought, every calculation, every strategy. The legend had begun, and every civilization knew with deep and unshakable certainty that the universe would never be the same again.